there is so much that is so dreadful happening in the world, particularly, of course, we know in Ukraine, that football really has to take second place. But nevertheless, for most of us, it's an escape, a brief escape from the horrors of the modern world, only intruding in the case of Chelsea and Newcastle because of the brutality of the regime in Saudi Arabia, and of course because of Roman Abramovich being a very prominent figure and a friend of Vladimir Putin's. We don't forget about what's going on, but we do need to look at our football, because for many of us it helps to keep us sane. And it's a pleasure to welcome John Giles and Liam Brady to look at the weekend's games and how they might affect the big prizes in the season, which is, of course, the Premier League itself, top 4 place for the Champions League, and survival in the Premier League, which for Leeds and Everton, 2 great clubs, is still very much a matter of concern, particularly for Everton. Liam, I'd love to start with you, because one of the most significant results of the weekend was Arsenal's 2-0 victory over Leicester. It means they go ahead of Manchester United by a point, and they have 3 games in hand, and they're in 4th position in the Champions League slot in the Premier League. So a very important result. What was the performance like?
It was excellent, Damon. Yeah, excellent. They dominated the match pretty much all through the game. There was a spell in the first half where Leicester got on top in the last 15 minutes of the first half, but they couldn't finish a couple of good chances. They didn't have Jamie Vardy, and without Vardy of old, they're looking a bit blunt up front, Leicester. But Arsenal were very good, particularly in midfield, and that's one of the areas that I've been critical of them. But Partey was excellent. Xhaka was disciplined again, played well, used the ball well. And Odegaard was very, very good as well, linking up play. They're playing with a lot of confidence, and, you know, they've got every chance if they carry on like this, finishing 4th.
Yeah, one of our listeners, Mr. Heatley, I think he must be an Arsenal fan, he sent me a mail about Odegaard. He said that Arsenal were thinking of paying 70 million for Maddison from Leicester, but Mr. Heatley was saying he was glad they didn't and bought Odegaard instead, and he thinks very highly of Odegaard. Do you share that?
Well, I didn't up till about a month ago.
Yeah, because I think I asked you before. Yeah,
I thought he was a bit milky. He was a bit too safe with his passing. You know, too many sideways passes, too many backwards passes. He keeps possession all right, but he doesn't hurt the opposition. But in the last month or so, he's been very, very good at hurting the opposition, finding through balls for the wide players. Playing with Martinelli wide on the left and Saka wide on the right, and they're really holding the width.
Yes.
They're staying on the touchline, and Odegaard is finding all this space, and he has played very well in the last month. I was critical of him before that. But we've got a big game against Liverpool on Wednesday, and that'll be a real test for the team and for him.
Yeah, and a real test for Liverpool as well, who we'll come to in a few minutes. John, I know you saw the Arsenal game, and I wondered what you made of the performance, and you'd have to say Arteta has done a fair job there. Liam hasn't made his mind up entirely about that, but they are a point ahead of Manchester United now in 4th position, and they've 3 games in hand. Obviously, one of them being Liverpool, which is a big, tough game on Wednesday.
Yeah, I thought they were very good, Eamon. I think he's getting better and better. You know, he's got rid of a couple of troublemakers, and there was a lack of discipline in the team up to now. But these young players are doing extremely well. Liam knows them very well. But they've been very good. As he said, there was some beautiful moves from the middle of the field, particularly because what I see in lots of teams, I mean, you know, midfield players, the first thing to do is want to turn sideways or backwards, you know, rather than turn on the ball and get forward. And Arsenal were very, very impressive in that respect. I thought they really outclassed Leicester for most of the game. Very, very good.
Yeah, Thomas Partey is a player, I'll ask you both about him. John, I'll ask you first. He came from Atletico Madrid, where He was playing for Simeone and was doing really well and was in the team, but Arsenal went and bought him, and he didn't shine in the first few months, but apparently he's playing really well now.
Yeah, I think it does take a bit of time for some players aiming to settle into the Premiership or any different league that they go to, and he seems to be getting on the ball better. You know, we heard over the years, well, he's a holding midfield player.
Yeah.
And it turns me off, Eamon, to be honest. I mean, a midfield player is a midfield player. You know, some are good defensively, but to be just like sitting in the middle of the field like in front of the back four, as they say, you know, I don't agree with that at all. And he seems to be that type of player. But now he's getting on the ball. I think he scored on the weekend, and he's getting involved in the play much better than he was when I first saw him. So I think things are looking good. I think for Arsenal, they're looking up. And I think he's had a hard job to do, Arteta.
Yeah.
And I think he's getting better, and I think there's more discipline about the team. And overall, I think it was a very, very difficult job for him.
Yes.
And I think he's getting to much better and getting a grip of it now than he had before.
Yeah, I mean, one of the players who was in and out of the team, Liam, was Lacazette. Now, I saw yesterday as he came off the pitch, he got an ovation from the crowd. I always thought he had a lot of ability, but I thought he might have been a bit like Aubameyang and Pepe, not really got his heart in it. Has he changed your mind a bit?
Yeah, well, I always liked him because he links up play very well. I mean, he's not a prolific goal scorer, but he's a very, very good leader of the line.
Yes.
And since Aubameyang has gone, he's really stepped up to the mark, and he's really influencing the younger players by his work rate and by his effort. You know, he's chasing things down, and they're following him behind him. He's been very, very good over the last 6 weeks. I think Arsenal have put 6 wins together now, 6 wins, consecutive wins together. So
right.
They really are playing with a lot of confidence. And Lacazette is one of the reasons.
Thomas Partey, Liam?
Yeah, again, I'd agree with John. It takes people time to settle in, you know, and I'd heard a lot about Partey, and that he was going to be the player we needed, and it didn't look like it for, you know, the first few months of the season. He was erratic in his passing. He was losing possession. But things have always have changed all of a sudden. You know, he was really excellent on the ball yesterday. But as I say, like we're in a great position. Arsenal are in a great position to finish fourth, but they do have to play the likes of Liverpool, Man United, Spurs away. So they'll just, you know, there's a lot of tests coming up.
Yes.
The teams they have beaten in recent weeks are teams you would expect them to beat. Now we'll see what they're going to do against the better sides.
Yeah, John, let's move on to Liverpool-Brighton, the lunchtime game on Saturday. Obviously, Brighton having a bad time, although everyone seems to respect their manager. I certainly do, and the job that he's done there. But they'd lost their last 4 games. And although Liverpool beat them, and I want to ask you about the first goal, which Diaz scored, and the controversy around that. I thought the goalkeeper should have been, sent off, really, even though the goal, he got the goal, Diaz, but he had to have real courage to do it. But the tackle was brutal, wasn't it, John?
Should have been sent to prison.
Yeah, you would have been if you did it in the bar. Yes.
He's hopeless, the referee. I mean, anytime I see him over his career, there's always controversy surrounding him with the decisions he made. This was an out and out. Yeah. You know, this was an out and out sending off. I mean, the goalkeeper came out and he's going for the ball with his feet.
Yeah.
And he's swinging his leg. I mean, I think the goalkeeper bottled it.
Yeah.
I mean, a brave goalkeeper coming out there, Eamon, would go head first, arms first for the ball, right?
Yep.
His arms were away from the ball. He was kicking. He was trying to kick the ball at head high.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just outrageous that he wasn't. It was one of the worst fouls, most dangerous fouls I've seen in football. I mean, Diaz was lucky to get away with it. I mean, he was very brave to do what he did, but he was lucky to get away with it. But I mean, Mike Dean over the years, he's always involved in some controversy. I don't think he understands the game. I mean, he knows the rules, but he doesn't understand the game.
Yeah.
But overall, anyway, on the match, I mean, Liverpool played well, deserved to win it. I feel sorry for Graham Potter. I think he's done a good job with them. And then didn't they sell one of his players to Newcastle there? Recently?
Yeah, a very important player, Wilson. Yeah, very, very important player, and a very, very good player.
Don't talk about the lad at the back, Eamon.
Oh, yeah. Burns. His name is. Yeah, Burns.
Yeah, the big lad.
Yeah.
It's a bad sign I think it's very, very hard for people like Potter who are making a team and doing well with a team that he hasn't spent any money or very, very little money on it. And then, Newcastle come in and take one of his best players. What do you expect from him? I think he's performing miracles. He's a terrific lad. So I think it's sad. But Liverpool, I thought, played well, Eamon. I thought they won well and fairly comfortable. Fairly comfortable.
Yeah, Liam, this guy Burns, they sold him as well for 23 or 24 million, which is really in the modern game, and he is a very good centre half, a very, very good player. I thought Liverpool, Liam, allowed Brighton more chances, and I thought they allowed Inter more chances last Wednesday as well. They seem to be allowing chances that a top team, and you've been in top teams, wouldn't allow.
I think they've hit a little bit of a low point there.
Yeah, I do.
Not very low because they're still winning. They're still managing to win. And against Inter Milan, they got through. They missed a few chances, like Salah hit the post twice, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
The sending off of Sanchez was a big break for Liverpool in that game.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. I've seen them the last 3 games, once in Europe and 2 in the league. And they're giving up an awful lot of chances. They're playing with a little bit of slackness that would be a worry. Would be a worry because they can't afford to make a mistake if they're going to catch Man City. So, big match for Arsenal on Wednesday, but a big match for Liverpool because Arsenal are playing with a lot of confidence, and we'll see if the defence can hold Arsenal out and look better than they've done recently.
Yeah, John, you were saying that, they played well. They certainly play well when they're all guns blazing and they're going forward. But every team they play, I mean, the goal that they gave away against Inter was, Van Dijk was really, really, really out of order. He didn't put any pressure on the ball. And he more or less said to the guy, go on then, have a shot from about 25 yards. And the guy stuck it in the top corner. But every game I see, including the Brighton game at the weekend, chances. Giving them up.
Well, they have conceded chances, there's no doubt, and Van Dijk was very bad in that particular situation, because I think he thought when he's outside the box, and a lot of defenders think this way, he's outside the box, the ball is bounced around, and if I let him shoot, he's not going to score from there.
Yeah.
And that's when it happens, because all the defenders, when they're really on top of the game, block those shots, so they make sure that it's not going to go into the back of the net.
You don't want to develop bad habits, do you, as a defender?
No, certainly not. I'm not condoning him. I'm criticising him really in doing what he's doing.
But you know what I'm saying? Habits are habits.
Yeah. They've given away a lot more chances than they should be doing, and they're getting away with it in the last few matches a fair bit, Eamon. But again, a lot of it goes back to I know I keep going on, but the high line that they give chances to teams. I think when you're playing the high line, you're taking a chance. The hope, and everybody's going to be in the right position to play somebody offside. And if it doesn't happen, and with the defenders that they have, they have obviously got very, very good defenders. There's no need to do it. And I think if you keep doing the high line, you will give chances away. There's no doubt.
Right, Liam, just to go back to something, and I'll ask John as well, that we talked about at length last week. This is Mo Salah's situation. And Klopp finally spoke on Friday. He said, we've done all we can. And afterwards, Salah's agent tweeted some emojis, kind of laughing with tears in his eyes. That looks to me like it's over. And I think that's the end of this Liverpool team if he goes. It does look like they're going to stick to their Fenway Sports policy, which is more or less everyone gets the same money. and it would mean that for Salah, he'd have to stay there on 120 grand a week less than Jadon Sancho, who's a teenager who just signed for Manchester United.
Well, I don't know what Sancho's earning, Eamon. Are they upping Salah's wages? I'm sure they must be upping his wages.
Well, maybe they are,
by a lot of money, but not maybe the money he or his agent want. He's probably looking for, how can we describe it, as Paul Pogba money, and Liverpool are not prepared to pay that because it'll wreck the wage structure. All the other players, top players behind them like Mane and Van Dijk and Trent Alexander will be saying, well, hang on a minute, I can't be that far behind this player, can I?
Right.
So I think it's something I predicted a couple of months ago.
You started the conversation.
This Diaz, they'd be looking at this Diaz and saying, he's a real good player. He was good again. The goal, he was very brave against Brighton for the goal. He looks a top player, and I don't know whether you noticed, but Salah got through down the left one time, and he tried to squeeze it in at the near post past the goalkeeper, and the camera went back to Klopp, and he was gesticulating. He wasn't happy at all.
Right.
He felt Salah should have rolled it across, look for a player in a better position, And I just detect. Maybe they've had enough of one another type of thing. Maybe this is going to be his last season there.
Right. Now, John, I think that would be a big blow. I was looking at statistics this morning. In 5 seasons, John, he's missed 7 games. He's got better. He's got stronger. I think he's one of the best players in the world. I think he's certainly one of the best players in Europe. And he's 29. At the moment, and we saw Luka Modric, who's 37 next September, Benzema, who's 35, Ronaldo, who's 37, scored a hat-trick on Saturday. There's no reason at all to believe, in other words, John, my argument is that Mo Salah won't be a top player, in other words, one of the best players in the world for the next 4 to 5 years.
There's no doubt in his ability, Eamon. What we're doubting is the policy that Liverpool seem to be determined to put in place.
Yeah,
we know, he's a great player. I think he's a great. I think he's a great player, and I would hate to see him go. I mean, when I was a manager, I'd do everything that I possibly could to keep him. I don't think Klopp's in a position to have that type of authority to make that decision, aiming to keep him. They have a policy at Liverpool that we know about, and it's the American policy in sports over there, that when a player gets authority, then no matter how good he is or what he is, they're not going to give him a big contract. Now, that's Liverpool's policy. You don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. I don't think Liam agrees, although Liam did make the point last week.
No, Liam has been ahead of the argument here, and he saw the reality before I did, and maybe before you did, and certainly other people. No, but everyone was saying that there's no way they're going to settle with him. Let me ask you both a question. Jurgen Klopp.
Can I just finish on that?
Yeah, of course. Sorry, John.
Right, because Liam made a good point about the team spirit, that if you give a player like Salah or anybody else a lot more than that than the other players are getting, then there's going to be trouble in the club. And that would be the case. I don't think that if they give it to Salah, then all the other players can be and usually are upset about the situation. So there's no doubt in Salah's ability. It's a situation that the Liverpool policy, the policy is that when somebody gets authority, that they're not going to give him a long term or a big contract or a lot more than anybody else.
Okay.
There's no doubt in his ability. He's a great. I think Liam thinks he's a great player. That's what we think as a player. As the club's policy, I don't think they're going to change that policy.
Right.
And that's the situation we're in.
In this moment, there's another key factor. Jurgen Klopp. Klopp said, we've done as much as we can. Shouldn't Klopp, who says he's going to leave Liverpool incidentally in 2 years' time, shouldn't Klopp say to Fenway Sports, look guys, this rule is bollocks, and point out what Luka Modric and Ronaldo and Karim Benzema are doing well into their 30s. and I can think of other names if I was to bother, and say, look, guys, can you not do the best you can for this guy? And I think he's critical to the team. I mean, Klopp can't surely be thinking that Diaz, good and all as he is going to replace Mo Salah.
I think when Klopp went to Liverpool, he would have agreed this with the owners,
Right.
and probably doesn't feel like he wants to abandon them now, And if you look at the other clubs around the world, they've all got themselves, these big clubs like Barcelona, like Man United, Chelsea, Chelsea have a wage bill of 25 million a month, it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And I think Abramovich is owed 1.6 billion in loans to the club. So it's absolutely crazy. And I think Liverpool they're business people, and they're saying, well, we'll run the club on a business footing, and that's the way it is. And we have to sacrifice a great player like Salah, but we will. And I think Klopp has bought into it and probably doesn't want to change a winning formula, Eamon.
Okay, let me put what I think to you and to John. I think if Salah leaves that team, they're over in terms of Champions League, Premier League. Do you agree with that, Liam?
No, I don't think they're over by any means. I think they've shown that when Salah hasn't been there, the nations, the African nations, that they've coped very well, and they've got this.
He only missed one league game.
Yeah, I know, but they coped very well, Eamon. They anytime he's been out of the team, they've been okay. Don't get me wrong. I'm not being critical of Salah. I'm just saying that's probably what they're thinking.
Yeah. Okay.
And especially with the form of Diaz and how he's hit the ground running.
If Mo Salah leaves Liverpool, I think they're mortally wounded in terms of the Champions League and the Premier League. And I think, good night. That's what I think.
No.
I'm a Liverpool fan, of course.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
Right.
I think that the policy should be that the manager is in charge of the situation, and that's not the case at Liverpool.
Well, he scored 20 goals in 4 of the last 5 seasons.
Will you listen to what I have to say, please?
Yes, okay.
Right. Klopp has been there for 6 years. I think he signed on for the policy that Liverpool had.
Yeah.
Right? I think he signed on for that.
Right.
Now, if you look at what they've done over the last 6 years, it's very, very hard to complain about it.
Okay.
Now, I don't agree with the policy. I'm like Liam. I don't agree with Salah gone. I think he's a terrific player. But this is the policy that they had since Klopp has gone there. And the policy actually has worked out very well. The recruitment has been excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And the guy who's done that recruitment, a guy called Edwards, has left.
Well, that's another day's work. I'm only saying what's happened since Klopp has gone to the club, and he hasn't had the power to do what you want him to do, and I would want him to do as well. But that's a fact, and that's what Liverpool are doing. Okay. So in Salah's case, I think they've signed Diaz. That's my early on in case the Salah things doesn't work out and he has to go. They're not going to change the policy. Klopp is not going to change the policy from them. And he's not going to object to it because he mightn't agree with it. I don't think he's going to object to it, but that's what he signed on for. And that's the position we are at Liverpool. But I think if Salah goes, I don't think they'll suddenly collapse.
I didn't say that.
It's going to be a loss.
I didn't say that. I said in terms of winning the Champions League and the Premier League, they're toast. They lose a big chunk.
That's a collapse. That's a collapse in Liverpool's where they are. Anyway, we're not going to argue over
Barcelona. How close are Barcelona to winning the Champions League?
No chance.
Yeah. Well, why is that?
Well, all their players aged at the same time is one of the reasons.
Yeah, but they gave fortunes. They
did. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then they can't afford to buy players.
But Liam, that's taking an extreme case of madness.
Yeah, it is, but that's what Liverpool don't want to do. That's a road they don't want to go down. Look at Manchester United.
All right, let's talk
we're going to get on to talk about them.
Let's talk about Manchester United, Liam, and let me ask you and John about Ronaldo's amazing contribution to the game, because they were terrible at times on Saturday night against Spurs. Spurs, I'd say, Conte would have been banging his head on the dressing room wall. But 3 goals from Ronaldo made United winners. Liam, what do you think that says to us about Ronaldo and about people who have been hinting, saying, including maybe his current manager, Rangnick, who left him out of a European game last week, that Ronaldo going to United screwed the team up?
Well, I don't think anybody could say that, Eamon. I think it'd be very harsh for anybody to say that because if you take away his goals in the league and in the Champions League, they wouldn't be where they are now. Pushing for fourth. Yeah. Without his goals, that wouldn't be the case. And certainly, he got them qualified in the Champions League from the group, nearly by himself. Yeah. And his hat trick at the weekend was amazing. It was one of the best hat tricks you'll ever see. First goal is he's banged it in from 20 odd yards like a rocket. The second goal shows you his movement, his ability to stay onside, didn't get offside, the tap in, and then the third goal is a bullet header. Roy Keane said something after the match. I thought was very. He looked like he was a bit angry. Yes. Ronaldo, he was playing with some fire in his belly, probably because he'd been left out for the Manchester derby.
That's right.
And he wasn't happy with it. Yeah, but it was fantastic, and I wouldn't agree that United be a better team without him. United are a mess, to be quite honest, and he's tidying up the mess now and again.
John, your take on him? And I mean, they were poor against Spurs, weren't they? Spurs dominated the whole second half, really. And good bits of the first half, but Ronaldo redeemed everything.
Yeah, I think the criticism or doubts about Ronaldo from a lot of people, Eamon, have been wrong, to be honest.
Yes.
He's involved in a mess there.
Yes.
And they keep on about, Ronaldo is not pressing, and Ronaldo never pressed.
No.
Ronaldo never was that type of player. Ronaldo was a guy that you had to wait for, and he's got to, and he's going to get your goals. And he's done that in every club he's been to, including Manchester United this year.
Yes.
This season.
Yes, indeed.
They keep on about, the pressing game, and he's not able to do that. He's 36 now and everything else. He's not doing any less work than he ever did at his peak.
Absolutely.
That's what you do with Ronaldo. You have to wait for him, and he has produced time after time after time, and he's done it again for Manchester United this year. He scored about 15 or 16 goals about it. It's not Ronaldo's fault that United are where they are. It's first of all, they don't have a manager, really, and haven't had one for the last 3 years. But particularly now, in my opinion, he's an interim manager with a lot of players on the pitch not doing their stuff. And I think the criticism of Ronaldo in recent times, and I'm not just saying that because of a hat-trick, I have said this before, I'm on record, I believe, to say that Ronaldo is not doing any less or more than he did at his peak. And it's the players around him are not doing their stuff at Old Trafford. Now he scores a hat-trick and everything. Even the manager said, maybe I should let him go to home again next week. Yeah. Because he didn't know where he went, because he'd been left out of the team and he's not happy about the situation. And I don't blame him, because I think it's a mess there. But he can still show his genius now and again, which he did the weekend. Yeah. It's not Ronaldo's fault.
No, and it was great. It was great to see. He scored 12 league goals, John, and as Liam pointed out, he scored quite a lot of goals in the Champions League qualification period as well.
Yeah, he's done his stuff, Eamon.
Yeah, let me ask you.
He's done his stuff, Ronaldo. It's the people around him haven't done their stuff. The manager's done. The club hasn't done their stuff. No. That's the big thing.
Right. Now, Leeds United, John, they fell over the line against Norwich City at home. I saw 2 goals in the 90th minute.
Yeah.
You must have been nervous there, sitting there in your white shirt, with your scarf on.
Well, it wasn't on the telly, Eamon. So I only got the score. I knew there was 2 goals in injury time in it. I watched it. Right. I watched the highlights today. Yeah. Only, and obviously it was a good win for them. It was a much needed win in the position that they're in. But I wouldn't have been convinced about the display. The overall display, because it was they had the best chances early on. They should have been in front early on, Eamon, from what I could see, and didn't do that. And then they came back into the well, and then the coach was on again, and he's giving himself another little pat on the back, because when it went to 1-1, he said he had to put this lad on. He just had to, and the lad finishing up scored the winning goal.
Yeah.
So it was a good win for him. A good 3 points at this particular stage, obviously, Eamon.
Okay.
But as far as I'm concerned, the jury's still out.
Yeah, well, they have a real chance. Everton are the team that really are struggling. Poor old Frank Lampard, who I think got a raw deal at Chelsea. He looks like he's had to take a job that may be undoable. I think that's all we have time for now. The next time we talk, lads, I'd like to talk to both of you about what was a fantastic game of football between PSG and Real Madrid, in which Benzema and Luka Modric in particular, and of course their coach, their great coach Ancelotti, saw off PSG and exposed, sad to say it, but exposed Lionel Messi and Neymar really as guys who have no interest in playing for PSG or maybe for anyone else at this point. But that's all we have time for now. I'm really grateful to Liam, of course, and to John.